From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One ball, corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
And Corey Clark.
Excuse my charisma, vodka with a spritzer, swagger down.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Coming up on today's show, 2 days worth of practice observations and a whole bunch of questions from the Renegade Express mailbag. Wake Up Warchant is presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. CPTallybar.com is the website, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Physical address where you can find this fantastic establishment. Lunch specials Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. On Thursdays, cheesesteak sandwich, chicken or steak, $8.99, comes with a side dish of your choice. Straight fries, curly fries, onion rings, potato salad, coleslaw, broccoli, side salad, tater tots, freshly cooked potato chips. Pick one of those to pair with your delicious cheesesteak sandwich. Again, either chicken or steak. It's all at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. And don't forget, later tonight, bingo night at the CP. As the locals, the loyalists call it. You call it the CP, right, Corey? Someone's like, hey, Corey, what are you up to tonight? You're not like, hey, I'm going to the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. You say, headed up to CP.
Yeah, unless they're from out of town, they might not know that's what you call it. On the first reference, I'll say Corner Pocket. After that, it's CP. Catch up.
Kind of like Mike Norvell, and then subsequently it's just Norvell in writing about him.
Correct. There you go. Exactly right. The first reference in a story. It's a little behind the scenes for you guys if you want to get into journalism. The first reference, you always go full name, and then after that, you just go with the last name. Unless, like let's say last year, Pokey Wilson and Johnny Wilson both had big catches in the same game. You had to identify them both with the full name because you don't want to confuse people.
What do you do the second time around when they're both in the story, though? You can just say
say the full name the whole time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
I know, but you got to.
Yeah.
You got to.
Rules are rules. Rule number 1 over here, hit the thumbs up, please. 5-star rating review as well. Subscribe to warchant.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's an off week, but plenty going on over at warchant.com. Jeff Camershow's been cranking out shows, Seminole headlines the other day, so we're back at it. We were at practice for 2 days. Since 76, posted on the Renegade Express, I'm guessing been a fan since 76, so they're hardcore.
Yeah, no lie.
Greetings, gentlemen. You both attended practices. What's your take on the players' mindset after 4 games? Any evidence they exhibit the consternation, panic, surprise, or worry that is spewed all over the Warchant threads by some of the fan base? Thanks for the work you both do. Quite enjoyable. I like that. Put that on my tombstone.
Well, I've been up here in Atlanta, so I haven't been to practice on Tuesday and Wednesday. Aslan, did it seem like a normal practice? I know Wednesday was a little shorter than normal because it is a bye week and they are trying to heal up.
Yeah, same thing with Tuesday. And you listened to the interview, so I think you know, not that I'm saying Mike Norvell isn't completely transparent with us all the time, but I really believe in when he tells you that Tuesday and Wednesday were good work days. They did condense it down, course. It was 18 periods. They usually go about 25. They started.
So that's about a 30-minute difference for the people that don't know. The periods are usually 5 minutes long. And
shout out to Mike. He started the practice 30 minutes later. Give us a little bit of extra sleep.
There you go.
So that's where the math comes into going from 25 to 18 periods. The thing is, man, you're going to be bummed out, Corey, because man, they did not do any scout work that we saw. Like, there's nobody in black jerseys, and I think Mike said after practice on Wednesday they did some, but not anywhere near the amount they usually do. They did so much 11-on-11 good on good.
Wow, really?
Yeah, man. I mean, it was maybe 2 or 3 periods full of it in a day when you only have 18 and you're spending 15 minutes drilling one thing. Especially 11-on-11, it's incredible because usually that's what they kind of do for special teams. But there was a lot of that going on. Wednesday, which is a little bit fresher in my mind, I got some notes from the other day. I'll go down to it. But I thought on the whole on Wednesday, listen, Jordan Travis looks fine to me. I don't see any lingering issues from that non-throwing shoulder or upper arm injury that we're assuming that he's dealing with.
But you wouldn't, right? Because he's not being hit. There's no threat of getting hit. And I'm not trying to correct you or say you're wrong. I'm saying he looked pretty fine the week of the Clemson game, running and moving. But it's the threat of taking a hit on that shoulder that we won't know until he goes into a game and looks like the old Jordan Travis as far as 3rd and 3, I'm going to get a first down here. I'm going to run for my own and get a first down here. What I was worried about is the throwing hand. But seems to be fine too, right?
Yeah, I didn't see anything. When did the throwing hand become an issue?
Happened like in the first half, like maybe early second quarter.
Okay.
Late first quarter, he hit his hand on, I think, a helmet or a face mask, and it was bloody. They went over there and they showed him getting his hand worked on, and he played the whole rest of the game with it.
Yeah, I didn't see him wince at all in terms of that. That would be my sort of tell, right? If he was the non-throwing arm was bothering him, as if he would be wincing after throws, and we didn't see that. But nor sort of bracing or anything on his throwing hand either. So obviously a good sign. Let me sidetrack. We'll get back to some of these practice sort of observations. But on the topic of Jordan Travis, we've been asked twice in the Renegade Express, first by our guy, Seminole Life, and then also by value subscriber Vegas Nole 87. With the competition being who they are next week, Corey, Vegas Nole saying Virginia Tech is really bad. Any chance we sit a banged-up Jordan Travis for that one? Maybe 2 weeks off is just what the doctor ordered. And then Seminole Life was saying if he's not 100% by Virginia Tech week, wouldn't another week maybe get him there? Should we go ahead and start Tate and not aggravate the injury to Jordan?
Yeah, we got that question on headlines, Seminole Headlines, on Tuesday as well, and I'm 100% against that. I get the rationale. You should be able to beat Virginia Tech with Tate Rodemaker at quarterback. You should be able to beat a lot of the teams on your roster with Tate Rodemaker at quarterback. You've surrounded them with good players. But I don't like the message it sends that, number one, Jordan Travis is practicing. He just played. Mm-hmm. I don't like the message it sends to your team that Jordan Travis could play, but we think we can beat this team without him, so we're going to sit him. You guys take care of it. I just think I just remember, and I'll never forget that Wake Forest game in 11 where Clint Trickett started the game. EJ was banged up. He missed the Clemson game. He missed the second half of the Oklahoma game, then the Clemson game. Then there was a week off, I think. And then they had Wake Forest the next week in Winston-Salem. And Clint Trickett started the game because he played pretty well at Clemson, all things considered. But they lost. Clint Trickett started the game and played horribly. And then they brought EJ in the second quarter. And it's like, well, if EJ could play midway through the second quarter, he could have played with 15 minutes to go in the first quarter. I just didn't like that. EJ could play, but we think we can save him for one more week and let him heal up and then get him ready for the next game. I think you play your best players if they can play. And I think Jordan Travis needs to play because unless he aggravates it over the next 10 days or 11 days, I absolutely think you play Jordan Travis. Now, he might be under orders. Let's not take any hits, big dog. Because, Jordan Travis isn't a kid that throws off his back foot a lot. He's a kid that steps up. He's not a kid that seems to be afraid of contact. You could tell in that Clemson game early on, one of his third down throws that Keon actually dropped, which was a really good throw.
Yep. First drive of the game.
Yep. He's throwing off his back foot, like leaning back because he knows he can't take a hit. So you should be able to beat Jordan Travis without him running the ball against Virginia Tech. But I do think you need to play Jordan Travis.
Yeah, we see it occasionally, like that star player, and there's the shot of him on the sideline during a close game, and like, oh, they really wish they could have him right now, but he wasn't, he's been limited by injury. Like those guys, I think, really cannot go. Like if you had no idea about Florida State's quarterback situation and you saw practice on Tuesday and Wednesday, you would not believe that Jordan's either dealing with an injury or that they're trying to soften him or give him time off.
He's taking all the reps he normally takes, right?
Yes. So on Wednesday, this is maybe of note to a lot of people. There's kind of some tangential thoughts in a lot of these questions on the Renegade Express mailbag, Corey. But a lot of people are wondering, like, apparently Florida State is boundary happy between the numbers and the boundaries, kind of where apparently Jordan's trying to mostly go. Not a lot of stuff in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
So there was a good bit of that, and Jordan being the quarterback on these plays when they're going on 7-on-7. Maybe not as much on 11-on-11, but he definitely found Destin Hill a handful of times during Wednesday's practice. Kyle Morlock as well. So maybe, I don't know if that's something they're emphasizing, Corey, or something that you've noticed. But a lot of people have been talking about this whole kind of fact that Florida State's not utilizing the middle of the field. Where's Winston Wright? Where's Destin Hill? Both those guys, Hill and Wright, were used on Wednesday and were quite profitable with their repetitions, if you will.
Yeah, I think, I get the consternation there with that part of the offense for real. Like, it seems like you've got these two weapons outside and you become way too dependent on those two guys. When you have a receiver, you have a room full of good receivers. that can go make plays. I just think, like, the Boston College game, it looked to me like the normal Florida State offense. It just they screwed around the last 4 possessions. But, they scored on 5 straight. They looked like the normal Florida State offense until Jordan got hurt, frankly, and they couldn't run the ball at all. Against Clemson, I just think Clemson is a one-off. I think Clemson, as good as they are in that front 7, you will not see another front 7 quite like that. You probably won't see another team that plays a bunch of bump and run on your 2 guys out wide, just straight up one-on-one. I don't think you're going to see that the rest of the way. If it looks the same against Virginia Tech, well then, okay, now it's a real issue. I just think about not utilizing other receivers and not utilizing the middle of the field. But I do think they will. I just think on Clemson, it's like they were worried about the protection. They know I don't think they felt they had an advantage anywhere else on the field except for those 2 dudes out wide. And when you feel like you have an advantage, you throw it up to your best players and you want them to go make plays. Also, Jordan couldn't run. And there were a couple times he should have run and didn't, but he couldn't. And he made a couple bad throws, good ideas, good decision-making, just bad throws. And a couple times, Jaheim gets his arm pulled. I kind of gave Jaheim a little bit of grief, but I saw the replay multiple times now on that great throw down the sideline. That's his arm's being pulled. That's a catch. That's why he went up one-handed, because the guy's grabbing his other arm. But I think before we start panicking about they're just throwing to Keon and Johnny a lot, that to me felt like when you're a college basketball team and you have some good players, but you also have Tony Douglas. I'm going to keep it Florida State specific. You'd like Davidus Dulkes to hit a couple of threes, but at the end of the game, when you're in a close game, Tony needs to shoot basically every time or create. And I just think with that, because he's the best player on the team, I think in those instances where you're back against the wall, you don't trust that you can block it up, you're playing the best defense you're going to face, it's a tight game, the one advantage you have is 6'7" freak, an NFL first-round pick on the other side. Let him go win the game for you. Now, it didn't work very well in the second half until it did. But you know what I mean? I think in that instance, it's like my one read, if they're going to cover those 2 guys one-on-one, I'm throwing it to them because that's our advantage. Now, yeah, I can wait and see the progression. Yeah, Johnny doesn't look open, but it's Johnny Wilson. It doesn't matter if he's open. Same with Keon, honestly, on that last play in overtime. He wasn't open. It's just a great catch. So I think in those instances, backs against the wall, against a great defense that you can't run on, you're not assuming the middle of the field is going to be open. You're not assuming you're going to have time to make it to your 4th progression. So you just throw it up to your best players. But I don't think that's how the offense will be moving forward. Does any of that make sense?
Yeah, no, I follow.
Okay.
I follow. I mean, it's matchup based a lot. They're going to do what they do, but there's obviously certain things that are going to work a little bit better against certain competition. And can't wait to see the West Virginia game.
And I heard Jeff,
Virginia Tech, rather.
And I heard Jeff Cameron refer to it as like it looks like the Jeff Bowden offense, which it did, quite frankly, for a lot of that game, but only in that game.
Yes.
I don't think that's what they were in. Yeah, you could say Southern Miss too, but Southern Miss, it's one-on-one. You want your receivers to go win jump balls, and they didn't, or 50-50 balls. But I think moving forward, it's going to look a lot like it did for the first 5 drives against Boston College and for the whole game against LSU. That's their offense. It's just Clemson is a whole different animal, and they got out of rhythm. They couldn't run, and they're like, let's go just try to win the game with our best players.
On Wednesday, period 3 was a little bit better than Tuesday's period 3. Period 3, I don't think they might have completed, I think, 1 pass and it was just a key on, but they kept moving the ball down the field because it's scripted and that's the way it works out in period 3, just to keep moving the ball down the field, give you different situations that you're going to see in a 40-second, 1-minute kind of drill. Tuesday did not look great. Wednesday looked a little bit better. On the whole, though, Tuesday the defense, I thought, outshined the offense. On Wednesday, early on, the offense looked kind of sharp, one-on-ones, especially 7-on-7s, especially when Jordan was out there. He hooked up with Morlock and Destin Hill on 2 throws that were over 10 air yards, so those are the ones I really care about. I know screen passes, swing passes, that's part of the offense as well, but when it comes to one-on-one, 7-on-7, those seem to be a little bit more kind of gimmies, and they're a little bit harder to grade. But the defense firmed up, especially when they went to a more compressed situation when it came down to goal line. Fentrell Cypress had a pick on Wednesday. Morlock did have a touchdown bounce back when the ones came back out on the field. Deuce Spann had a touchdown when he was out there with Tate and the crew.
Hey, before we go any further,
yeah.
I get it. We'll track some of this stuff. we're burying the lead, buddy. Come on now. People haven't heard us for 2 days. Was it you that asked Norvell about Darrell Jackson?
Yeah, man, because
Well, go to that. That's the news of the day. Not more like catching a 12-yard pass in 7-on-7. Tell people the news, Aslan. Well, number one, they should have seen it on our website or our YouTube channel already. Yeah. But in case you haven't, in case this is your only platform to get Florida State news, let's go.
Yeah, so whoever was a subscriber on the Renegade Express last week that was wondering about Darrell Jackson or telling us to ask Coach, great minds thought alike. I was on the same wavelength, especially after last week or the week before when Mac Brown went nuclear on the NCAA for them shooting down Tez Walker. Felt like maybe Mike would want to maybe chime in and join the chorus, but decided, hey, they got a big game going on with Clemson. Don't want to be a distraction. So asked Norvell on Wednesday after practice just about his understanding of Darrell Jackson's status because, it's one of those things where I was wondering, like, okay, so he's not eligible now. Does he need to then request eligibility when the semester comes up, or is this one of the things that goes through? Is it going to be a possibility? How firm, how likely is it? And Mike Norvell even corrected himself when he's like, I asked him, will he be able to play in the postseason, Darrell Jackson? Mike Norvell said, yeah, playing in the postseason is a possibility. Paused, corrected himself. He's like, playing in the postseason is a reality for Darrell. So the challenge for them has been just keeping him focused, and he's been out there working. And he said that it's really difficult, obviously, to go out there and practice the way you need to when you know you're not going to be out on the field. And I'm waiting for clarification because people are asking about the conference championship game. To my understanding, the reason he will be eligible, Corey, is that by postseason, we mean a bowl game, not necessarily a playoff. I didn't want to use that word. That's why I should have said, a bowl
like
game.
Jim Mora. You're like Jim Mora over here.
Yeah,
Playoffs.
I should have said bowl game instead of postseason. But the ACC championship game will still fall within the fall academic calendar, which is a semester that he's not eligible for.
What if he's done with classes, though, and has got his grades already locked and loaded?
I don't think so. I think it's still – and again, I'm waiting for clarification from a spokesman for the university, but
okay.
I just believe that it's still that window of time. It's still –
So, worst case scenario, perhaps, he would be eligible for a playoff game and obviously a national championship game.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
So he could play 2 games. There's a chance, we don't know, that he could be eligible for an ACC championship game too. So potentially 3 games there at the end of the year.
Yes, I think very unlikely, though, ACC championship.
Yeah, but definitely 2.
Yes, because he's not academically ineligible. He's not. It's not because he's got bad grades. So he could get a 4.0 right now. It doesn't change the fact that he's not allowed to play this semester. He has to sit out. So he's sitting out this semester. But, second week of December, fall semester is now over. So it moves over to a new leaf, if you will, and then he'll be able to be eligible for that situation. So I know it's going to be a huge shot in the arm. I just didn't want to it's bearing the lead, but I didn't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. And,
Well, and you know what's cool about it, and not that anybody's thinking like this, and I'm not even trying to put this out in the universe, but let's say Florida State does not make the college football playoff. Well, they have a lot of dudes that love them. You love what they've done for your program. They've done a ton. They might not play in the Cotton Bowl. They might not want to play in whatever bowl game Florida State's going to because most draftable players don't anymore. So maybe Fabian doesn't play. Maybe Braden doesn't play. Josh Farmer doesn't play. Who knows? But I can tell you somebody that will play is Darrell Jackson.
Yeah.
Because he needs film.
Right.
And so at least you're going to get a boost in a bowl game where other – but that's like worst case scenario. Best case scenario is that you're playing Georgia, who wants to run the ball on you. And not only do you have Farmer, Burse, Lovett, Fisk, and whoever else, Peyton, the whole gang, you also have Darrell Jackson now. That's a nightmare for an offense, trying to run the ball. So that's really good news. We kind of thought that was the case anyway, but I'm glad you asked, Aslan. Good work.
Every now and then.
Yeah.
The great thing, though, is this, that and it's all because of his reaction, Mike Norvell's, but if he would have reacted like, listen, I'm worried about the guys that we have ready to go now. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Everybody would have replied like, Aslan's the worst. All he does is piss Mike Norvell off.
Well, right.
So it's like playing the results with these things. There's a reason why I get up and I wake up and I go to my job and I'm not upset about it because I realize that it's all crazy at the end.
So does that? I guess that means the Carolina kid would be eligible too then.
I would think so, yeah.
And there's so that would be interesting though because I feel like this is just me projecting 2.5 months ahead. say you're playing Carolina in the championship game, which is a possibility.
Yes. Yeah.
You probably would rather both players not be eligible than both players be eligible. Because I think they think he's their best receiver.
Yeah, and I'd love for Florida State's stingy, nasty run defense to be bolstered, but
Right.
I don't want to see North Carolina's passing game
Get better.
with what we're dealing with on the secondary right now.
Right.
Have to deal with that. So,
But if it's anybody but North Carolina,
yeah.
please make Darrell Jackson eligible. What are y'all doing?
Darrell Jackson's focus. I don't know if he's taking the Vitamin Energy Focus Plus, but I'm sure he's ready to get back out there and make some plays. You should be ready to get out there and make some plays, even though it's a bye week, everybody. Do stuff around the house. The honey to-do list. Mow the lawn. I bought a lawnmower. I still haven't mowed the lawn, Corey, but I'm going to get brave next week maybe.
Okay, good.
On next Sunday, because I'll be out of town this weekend. But I'll have Vitamin Energy in me every single day from now until then. Vitamin Energy, again, clinically proven to give you more focus, more energy, and more balance in your day. Use the promo code WARCHANTBOGO, WARCHANT BOGO, over at vitaminenergy.com to buy one and get one free. Again, this stuff is, it works. Word of mouth, we've proven it, and now we've got the statistics behind all of it as well. 64% Corcel, they felt the shots are a great mood booster. 78% agreed that the shots in this scientific study are indeed effective at reducing brain fog. So
Okay, there we go. Nice.
do it. VitaminEnergy.com. Shake it and take it. Promo code WARCHANTBOGO. Corey, as we wait for confirmation, not sure if we'll get it while we're recording this part of the show, maybe tomorrow's program. But I did reach out to somebody who would know. Gator Kirk asked, wake up, why was the Clemson game a sod game when it did not meet the standard for one? I saw photos on social media of sod being extracted. So I reached out to somebody who would know, and I wondered, because I thought it's always bowl games, road games when you're a dog, and then it's always Miami and Florida on the road no matter what. So I thought maybe like Clemson was part of this, rival clause. But I was told, and I'm reading the text message I got back verbatim here, the number one rule of sod games is that it is the head coach's decision. And games in which we are a slight favorite but are big games, in quotation marks he put, on the road, those have been sod games several times. This was another one of those. Last year's game at New Orleans was not a sod game at coach's decision, even though we were a slight underdog. First and foremost, the decision is made by the head coach, and the tradition respects his judgment. So there you go, everybody.
You know what's weird about that, though? Because it's fun. Yeah, cool. It should be a sod game. When you haven't won at a place in 10 years, I don't care if Florida State would have been a 17-point favorite. You need to go get some sod out of that place. But I think, to me, didn't it feel kind of like an afterthought, Aslan, with the team?
Yeah.
In the sense that we were already – they had already walked off the field. They were in the locker room celebrating, and we're all setting up for the postgame, which is right there in the tunnel because Clemson can't make a room available for anyone. So you're right there in the tunnel. And then didn't we see like 5 or 6 players run back out on the field?
Yeah, it was mostly the offensive linemen, so I started following them, but it seems like they took a group photo, but maybe that was like a distraction to run interference because at that point I'm like, man, if Mike Norvell starts talking his interview and I'm out here trying to find somebody cutting grass, that's not a good exchange.
But was that not the instance where somebody went and got the grass?
There was. That's exactly when that happened, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying is like they all went into the locker room and had forgot they were supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good sign. Like, it's not like they, in 13, the whole team was tearing out chunks of the grass, or wanted to, you know what I mean? Because it had been so long and they'd heard about it, and it was a top 5 game in the country. So it felt like a sod game, and it was a sod game. This one, to them anyway, they were expecting to win. And it wasn't like they want to break the rock. Like, Norvell's brought his own tradition, which the rock is a really cool tradition, especially when they win. When they lose and you got to lug it back on the bus, it's not great. But they finally got to break a Clemson rock. I mean, I think that's a really cool tradition in a locker room. I don't think the sod thing has really taken hold with this new team yet. And you hope, honestly, it doesn't. Because that means you're not underdogs on the road a lot. Like in the 90s, it was hard to get sod games, man. You get one game a year because you were favored everywhere else. So anytime you're playing Florida or Miami at their place, that was a sod game. That was the only one of the year. Maybe this program will get back to that where it really is just – I guess Clemson could be in that trio now too. But Florida, Miami, and Clemson, if you win there, it's a sod game. But it didn't occur to them in the moment, let's go cut some sod. Because I think that rock thing means more to this group of players. And look, man, that Sod Cemetery is one of the coolest traditions in college football. And they do honor it. They did go get the grass. But I thought it was telling that it wasn't the first thing they thought of when the game was over.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. Or maybe they know the rules, and they're like, this is not a sod game. And then coach is like, hey, it's a sod game. Where's the grass? And everybody ran out in a panic to get grass for coach. But I think your story's better.
No, there you go.
Another update here. So I emailed the spokesperson, said, I should have been more specific when asking coach, but Darrell would be postseason eligible for a bowl game and not a conference championship game due to where the former, that would be the postseason bowl game, falls on the academic calendar. Yes. The response from the university, correct. He will become eligible at the conclusion of the fall semester.
Okay.
So.
And we can move up that fall semester, gang. Just saying. When does that conclude right now? December 12th?
Maybe something like that. I guess.
I'll look it up. You ask another question.
Let's see here. We got a lot. Armchair Osceola, wake up. Normally I tend to be somewhat of a pessimist, but after Tuesday's episode with Corey airing his grievances regarding us falling to 5 in the polls despite winning, I could help but think how amazing that after starting the season 0-4 2 years ago, we're now miffed that we've been disrespected with a top 5 ranking.
Yeah.
Our guy M. Adam CZ, Mark in Naples, also echoed that same sentiment about, listen, guys, Corey had to douse himself in champagne. Ira was wondering if he'd have to change career paths 2 years ago, and now we're 4-0. Why is everybody complaining? So a lot of that sentiment. Anyhow, sure, there's plenty to clean up from Saturday, and no, we may not be the best team in college football, but how much fun is this? I'm loving it. Amen, Archer Osceola. Also, great take, Corey, on why Deion Sanders' discussion gets on the nerves of some. Can't we appreciate taking a 1-11 team to bowl eligibility without being told by the media that this is the greatest thing to ever happen to college football? Yeah. And FSU is a huge loser for not rolling the dice on hiring him? Sorry, I know it's a hot-button topic, but I thought your tone and tenor were perfect. You're all right, too, Aslan. Enjoy the bye week.
Sweet.
He says love you, too, Aslan. I just want to be self-deprecating. Love you, too, Armchair Osceola. Enjoy the bye week. Hope you both get caught up on some Saturday relaxation. So there we go.
It'll be cool. It'll be cool to have a Saturday free. Because the only other Saturday we weren't covering a game so far this year was we were in Orlando. So it'll be cool to just sit our butts on the couch and watch some football. And I think there'll be some good games. And yeah, the Colorado thing. Look, man, it's such a cool story, but it's how the media works, man. It just gets shoveled down your throat all the time, and then it becomes a chicken or the egg. Like everybody's going to say, look at these ratings. See, this is why we report on Colorado, because everybody wants to watch Colorado. Look how much attention it's getting. Look at how many millions of people are watching Colorado play Oregon. And it's like, yeah, but part of that is because you've driven the interest. It works both ways. Like if you'd have just treated Deion like the coach at Colorado State and you mentioned him a couple of times a week, then maybe there aren't that many people watching Oregon, even with the 3-0 start. But it's nonstop Colorado, so it's like they want to polarize the country. It's exactly why people watch Tebow, because half the people wanted to watch him lose all the time. And then he gave everybody a Christmas present by crying on the sideline. An all-time Christmas present. So I just think that's what gets lost in it. It's not like I want to see Deion fail. It's not like the people that are rooting against Colorado. I mean, some people do, I'm sure, for various reasons. It's just they get tired of having it shoved down our throat. And then if it's November and Colorado is 5-4, it's like, well, where's all the attention now? Like it's just how it works. It's how the media works, man. Much like the tight end with the Chiefs. Just how I don't know if you've seen that, Aslan, but I feel like it looks like the tight end of the Chiefs is dating a pop star. I don't know if you've seen that online anywhere.
Man, how about the fact that he's dating her? He has Chunky soup commercials, CVS or Walgreens commercial.
Yeah.
And something else that escapes my mind now, too. Like he and
his brother have like the #1 podcast in the country.
And he does State Farm stuff with Patrick Mahomes as well. Yeah. Like he's got to be the best endorsement guy out there right now. But yeah, I'm
especially
glad for
for
him
a
Taylor.
tight end of all time.
Yeah.
I didn't know tight ends could get this much attention, but good for him. And he's awesome. He's a great football player. For the people out there, and I guess people that are listening to this aren't maybe the biggest Taylor Swift fans and non-football fans, but for all the people that just know him now because of Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce is awesome.
Yeah.
He's a Hall of Famer and one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah. 3-star guy, went to Cincinnati. So
Sure did. Yeah, got recruited by Brian Kelly.
Oh yeah,
played for Brian Kelly. Him and his brother, I think, or I don't know where his brother went.
No, he
was definitely in Cincinnati.
They both went to Cincinnati. Jason went to Cincinnati as well. So they're Bearcats. Every man a Bearcat. Every man a Wildcat. Is there an ice cream truck rolling through the hood right now?
No, that's my drop. That's my washer when it goes off.
Oh,
it makes a cool sound like that.
Oh, what brand is that? Mine's GE and it doesn't serenade
Buddy,
me like
I don't
that.
know. Samsung? Do they make washers? I have no idea.
Back to go back to the questions. They're practicing. They look really sharp. There wasn't anything that really stood out crazily. Brock Glenn was out there. We did have a question from our guy Tennis Ump about can we find out the status of Brock Glenn. If you'll see the video from Wednesday's practice, the first 30 seconds or so shows some long toss between Jordan and Johnny Wilson, which I think might be literally the first time I was able to capture Jordan throwing a football to a wide receiver. Because whenever they, period one, they're just by themselves a quarterback. Same thing in period two. And then period four, they're throwing to running backs. So we'll be doing Warchant Report, powered by Cummins. And somebody will talk about, Jordan having to find Johnny or Keon. And I never have any footage of them throwing and catching against one another. But we do. Anyhow.
And we're not, you should let people know, we're not allowed to, play highlights from games.
Correct,
Those are copyright. Problems.
The whole reason the SEC makes all that money is because ESPN's like nobody else can film it besides us. But Tennis Up says, wake up, any update on Brock Glenn's recovery time? I mean, he was out there. If you look at the video, you can see he's got some bracing on one of his hands, but it looked like the velocity coming off his hand, the ball looked to be no different than what we saw from him in the spring and preseason camp. So he's been out there, so that's a good thing to see, obviously. Back to the top here. First question actually came from our guy, Noel Boyo, too. Wake up. Do y'all think there's still a chance for college game day this year? Game day will be in Durham this weekend for Notre Dame Duke. And, Corey, you mentioned it. We pull it up Saturday, November 11th. That is Miami at Florida State. It's also Ole Miss at Georgia, Utah at Washington, USC at Oregon, Florida at LSU, Duke at North Carolina. But you're going to stand firm. Actually, shoot, man, Michigan at Penn State. But that's on Fox. That's on Fox, though.
Okay, you're right.
So that helps. That's a noon game at Fox. So
they already have that as a noon game?
Yeah. So.
And you're talking about November. You're talking about the Duke game or the Miami game?
Miami
Florida
game.
State, I'm talking about.
No, November 11th, Miami game. Yeah, that's TBD.
They already have that as a noon game, 2 months ahead of time, 6 weeks ahead of time.
That's how Fox rolls. That's how Fox rolls.
Yeah, I think, man, ESPN. I know Penn State. What did you say? Penn State, Michigan.
Yep.
That's a monster game, clearly. But also, wouldn't they probably be there for Michigan, Ohio State? Maybe Penn State, Ohio State. I don't think they're going to want to do 3 trips for those 3 games. Right. So I do think, and I'm just telling you, if Florida State and Miami are both in the top 10, or one's number 3 in the country, one's number 11 in the country, and it's Florida State, Miami, I would be stunned if they don't come. And I literally can't remember the last time they were in Tallahassee. Maybe the 14 game against Notre Dame.
Were they here in 16 for Clemson?
They might have been for 16 for Clemson, but Florida State had already lost 2 games. They had just lost to North Carolina.
No, they only lost one, right?
They might have still come for that game, but at that time when they played Clemson, they'd already had 2 losses.
No, because they only lost 3 games that year, and they lost. Oh no, they beat Michigan that year. I'm sorry, you're right.
Yeah, but they lost. They lost to Louisville by 100,
lost to North Carolina,
and they lost to North Carolina on a last-second field goal. And somehow when they scored with 20 seconds left, they still lost the game. And then so I don't know if game day was there for that, but I just think they'd be itching to come back to a place they haven't been to in almost a decade. Or if they have been here in 16 for the Clemson game, it was once in a decade. And it's Florida State, Miami, man. If they're both relevant, and if Miami continues to play like this, and Florida State continues to win and get better, that's going to be a really fun atmosphere, and I think they'd want to be a part of it.
Let's see here. It looks like Florida State Clemson might have been the last time they were here.
16?
Yeah. I can't be.
Or 14. It could have been 14.
It was 14. It was 14, yeah. I'm trying to go through all these ones here. They were here later that year for the Notre Dame game as well.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's the last one that I can find here on the NCAA website, believe it or not, has every single college game day appearance week by week. This was going into September 24th.
What about, can you look up when Florida State plays Duke? If Florida State is 6-0 and Duke comes in 6-0?
I can. Real quick, though, Florida State's tied with LSU for third most times hosting game day at 13.
Okay, all right. Wow, and it's been a minute, too.
Yeah, Alabama has 17, and then Ohio State, 22 of those.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. What week is Duke, Florida State? Week 8?
I think it's the 21st.
21st, okay.
Yeah.
Duke at Florida State. That's also Penn State at Ohio State.
Okay, well, look. And they've already done Duke. So I think if they do Ohio State, Penn State, I think that would, if Florida State can continue to win, and they come into that Miami game 10-0 or 9-0, whatever they would be, I think there's a real good chance they'd be there. But there's a chance. Look, a lot of it has to do, obviously Florida State has to keep winning and be relevant, but Miami can't fall off a cliff like it normally does either. If Miami can stick around, they have a tough schedule. If they can get through the rest of this schedule until the Florida State game with just one loss, I think there's a real good shot they're going to be in Tallahassee. Also,
Utah at Southern Cal that week.
Yeah, and it's also, but when you think about it, man, like I'm not trying to, I want him to live as long as he can live, but how much longer can Lee Corso do this? Like, he can't do it much longer. Like, physically, just you can't keep putting him out there. He's 88 years old, I think. He's older than Holtz. And there was a coach that got mad at Corso the other day.
The coach from Washington State got mad at Corso. Ryan Day got mad at Lou Holtz.
I mean, these octogenarians are having a tough go of it here. But I just think if they think the end is near, which clearly it is when you're 88, and I'm not talking about the end of his life necessarily, but the end of being on TV, maybe get Lee one more shot in Doak, one more shot in Tallahassee. That would be cool for him. So any excuse to make that happen, it needs to happen.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, man. That's definitely going to be a variable for them, for sure. And as long as they have a leg to stand on to bring it to Tallahassee, I think they will. They really haven't in the years past, everybody.
No, correct.
But even, one-loss Miami team and an undefeated Florida State team or one loss each, for sure, gives them the reason to come home. Come home, everybody. Which, hey, man, they're back in Notre Dame this past week, 20-year anniversary, 30-year anniversary. 30-year anniversary.
Golly, it sure is.
Of the first ever one that they did, which was the game of the century.
And I was there. I was in the crowd. I was watching it.
Corey was there, everybody.
Yep. When they for the Florida State Notre Dame game, they did it in the they did it like in a lobby of the basketball arena before they knew what they were doing, and they didn't really even have much of a setup. They did it, and there was like 50 of us watching. But yeah, it was Craig James too, by the way. It was the other guy with Corso. Yeah.
Handsome devil.
Oh my gosh, you should see it in person, Aslan.
Yeah, wow.
Holy moly.
Noleback's 55. Corey Aslan, wake up. My wife, daughters, and I made the trip to Clemson to witness our second win in Death Valley in 20 years. Though I felt a little cheated because Clemson has that great big video board and they have stats of the game on it, but they never once showed punting and red zone conversion stats.
How did you live? How did you get through the game not knowing? And if there was ever a time to have punting stats, both those guys were putting the crap out of the ball. They did awesome. But yeah, no, it's crazy, Aslan. Just up there the whole game. Rushing yards, passing yards, total yards, first downs, time of possession. Never left the scoreboard.
I've been a season ticket holder since 2018. I've sat through some tough times. In 21, during the first half of Louisville, I actually said out loud, I am paying money to sit here and watch this.
Yeah.
Now, on a 10-game winning streak and looking the best we have since 2013, I have made hotel reservations and penciled in vacation time to go to Charlotte the first weekend in December. What a 2-year turnaround. Were these reservations, however, a little premature? What could derail these plans and keep us from the ACC championship game? Love you guys. You get a weekend off. Rest up because after this week, it's a long 9-week grind.
Go Noles. Look, Stephanie's already made Charlotte reservations too after the Clemson game. Because, look, number one, you can cancel them. That's the beauty of it. But also, you got yourself a nice little room for cushion here where you can, I think, still lose a game. and make it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who knows what Louisville? I know Louisville doesn't play any of the big boys if they'll end up going undefeated, but I feel like you can still lose a game and make it to Charlotte, probably comfortably. So you got a little wiggle room there. But look, to get there for sure, you know, I would say your defense needs to like figure it out earlier, start games better. Quit making it where you have to go win games tight in the fourth quarter. Like, let's go ahead and put your foot down early. Dictate, and that was something that Norvell said on Tuesday, right? That they became much more aggressive, and they wanted Clemson to react to them as opposed to them reacting to Clemson. Jarian Jones said the same thing. So I hope that is just how they're going to coach now, that they're going to be more aggressive. It's not going to be a lot of, we're going to just rush our front four and give up easy kind of quick passes. We're going to make them make decisions under duress quickly. And that's how you get turnovers. But yeah, and also the offense needs to figure out how to run the ball. I don't know if that's changing up the offensive line. I don't know if that's just a matter of your quarterback getting healthy. But as good as these two receivers are, I don't think you can expect to go undefeated in conference. Even though you just won the most difficult game on your schedule conference-wise. I don't know that you can expect to win all these games if you can't figure out a way to run the ball.
Mercy, man. People have been talking about it, and I kind of gave a glance at it maybe in August when I first heard about it, but I just have it in front of me right now, the remaining schedule for Louisville. They get Virginia Tech and Virginia.
Yep.
They've got Pitt at Pitt, which Florida State has to contend with, but they actually have to go into Carter Finley on a Friday night this week.
That's this week, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's treacherous.
I also think they get they have 1 day shorter rest because NC State played last Friday night in that crazy game against Virginia.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So Louisville played on Saturday.
Oh.
Somehow managed to beat that Boston College team, but they get 1 day less preparation than NC State got.
Yeah, they do host Notre Dame, but that's not counted.
That's not a conference game,
right? They host Duke as well.
So again. Like, I get it. Duke looks good. Duke might be good. I think Duke is good, actually. But is that the toughest game on the schedule is home against Duke?
Yeah, if you look at Notre Dame right now is ranked ahead of Duke.
But, ACC-wise.
Right. No, you're right. Yeah, it is.
Do they play anybody else? Who do they finish with?
Well, they do have to go at Miami.
Okay, well, there you go. That's one that would – one of those teams has to lose it, right?
There'll be a lot of pressure for one of those teams, I imagine, that game.
Correct, yeah. But yes, it's a ridiculous schedule. But it is what it is. You don't know who's going to be good. It would appear the three best teams in the conference right now are Florida. Well, four. I'm throwing Duke in there. So the five best teams are Florida State, Miami, Duke, Clemson, and North Carolina. They get to play Duke at home, and they have to go to Miami. But we don't really know what these teams are, right? Like, I don't know how good Duke is. We'll find out a lot this weekend. Just like we will about Syracuse and Clemson, quite frankly. I think Clemson is good. But was that just their last shot, and now they're not, they've lost 2 games. They know they can't win the ACC. What does that do to the locker room? How do they come out and play? But I just think, man, I think Clemson's good. I was more impressed with Clemson than LSU. Clemson just lost a goofy game at Duke that they outgained them by like 200 yards, and they just kept fumbling and making dumb and missing chip shot field goals. I just think that, but we'll see, man. We'll see what they look like this week. It's an interesting ACC race, isn't it? It's an interesting college football season, like a fun one.
It really is. Everything is wide. The Big Ten is obviously 3 teams seemingly. But, man, the Pac-12 –
3 great teams, probably.
Yeah. The Pac-12 is really exciting to think about. Yeah. Every single week I look at a schedule, I'm like, Utah's got to play, UCLA the other week. And, now they got Southern Cal this week. And Oregon's playing, Washington. And it's incredible, man. It really is. And then the SEC's wide open, too. So we love this sport. It's amazing.
But I do think, look, Florida State – I think Florida State's the best team in the conference. I think they're going to play better than they have these last 2 weeks. And then I think that they had the margin for error of still being able to lose a game. But if they lost the game, it would be an upset. As long as they stay relatively healthy. They would have to lose at home to Duke, which would be an upset. Home to Syracuse, upset. Home to Miami, probably less of an upset, but still an upset. I still think they might be favored by double digits in that one. I think they might be double-digit favorites in every game they play in the conference the rest of the way. So it would take a pretty big upset for them to lose. But we just saw what happened in Boston, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. But if they play well, if they get better, which, let's be honest, folks, this coaching staff, other than the COVID year, the last 2 years, this team has gotten better as the season goes on. If that continues this year, they're going to be in Charlotte.
MyBookie.ag, you can bet anything, anytime, anywhere, including who's going to win the conference. That's one of the odds out there. Value all not that great because Florida State, obviously, with several aces up their sleeve as we head into October. Incredible to think about. Use the promo code WARCHANT when you sign up. For the first time, you get an instant cash deposit bonus. Keeping it with the ACC, Corey, this Louisville game at North Carolina State, interestingly enough, North Carolina State is catching 3 at home. Louisville is -3.
NC State hasn't looked great, especially on offense.
Yeah. Okay.
They were lucky to win that game in Virginia. That's a tough game, as Florida State fans know. But I feel like NC State fans probably get a little more riled up for Florida State coming to town than Louisville. Friday night, I'm going to say Louisville. I think Louisville believes in itself. I don't think NC State does.
Okay. Things firming up between Florida and Kentucky. Kentucky now only favored by 1 point.
Ooh.
So keep your eye on that one. And then Texas giving out 16.5 against Kansas. That seems like free money to bet on Kansas. I feel like they're going to keep it close. Yeah, man, Texas always seemingly struggles with Kansas here of late.
Might be different this year, though. This quarterback's a good player.
Yeah, well, we'll see. And if they don't cover, they should drop in the polls.
You know what? And as much grief as I give Texas, real quick, we can talk about Heisman odds, too. I think that guy might be my Heisman dark horse.
Ooh.
The quarterback, because of what he did to Alabama.
Quinn Ewers, yes.
Because Alabama's offense is a train wreck. We get it. It's not very good. That defense is legit. And I thought he played exceptionally well in that stadium against that defense. So right now, he's got my Heisman vote if it ended today.
Yeah, he's like a weird second-tier guy almost. Like it's Penix and Caleb plus 360, plus 380. Quinn Ewers is plus 560, and then it drops into the quadruple digits. Bo Nix plus 1025, Jordan plus 1125.
But those Pac-12 quarterbacks are going to knock each other out.
Whoever wins that game is going to end up winning it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like I feel, but the other one can't. Like can't. You're not going to win it if you go 10-2 because all those quarterbacks are going to put up. Bo Nix too. There's like 3 of them out there. They're going to put up huge numbers, but they got to play each other. So 2 of them are going to be knocked out of contention.
MyBookie.ag. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. Use the promo code WARCHANT for your instant cash deposit bonus. All right, maybe one other one as we head out here. Corey will have a show for you folks tomorrow as well. So sorry for taking a day off, but we out cheer. Nole for Life class of 2007. We got a lot of questions regarding polls and offensive line running back play we'll get to tomorrow, but this is one that a little bit more on a fun sort of slant. Wake up. Cannot be understated how epic being 4-0 is right now. No matter how we got here, we are here, and that is certainly something we as a fan base must appreciate. Amen.
Correct.
That said, the running game has underwhelmed. So here's a fun question. If you could swap one of our current running backs for any running back in Seminole history to fix our running woes, what swap would you make and why? Nole for Life class of 2007 would trade Lawrence Toafili for Dalvin Cook. Could you imagine Dalvin Cook and Trey Benson with this quarterback and these wide receivers?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, and that's no offense to anybody on the team, I would trade 3 running backs for Dalvin Cook. Like, I would trade Benson, Toafili, and Rodney Hill for Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
C.J. Campbell and Keziah Holmes, those are capable backups.
Yeah.
But Dalvin Cook, again, we talk about special and different and game changers. I think Benson's a good running back. I think Toafili has been a very good college football player. I think Rodney Hill can be good. None of them are Dalvin Cook because there aren't any other Dalvin Cooks. So, yes, Dalvin Cook is the answer. Warwick Dunn would be great, too, just getting him the ball out in space on swing passes if you decided to go like 4 wide and run the ball more. Because here's the other thing, man. Like, I certainly wasn't happy with the way Benson ran for a few games this season. I thought he was fine. I thought he was good against Clemson. There was nowhere to go in that game. And there wouldn't have been anywhere for Dalvin to go either. Like, you know what I mean? You've got to block it up a little. He can't get all the yards on his own. So, if the offensive line was still an issue, maybe you think of maybe if the offensive line couldn't get any push or create any holes, maybe you would think about Warwick Dunn just because you could send him on those little flare routes.
Yep.
If you decided we're going to throw it 80% of the time,
Yep.
we're going to be like 95 Florida State. We're just going to throw it every down. Well, what a weapon that would be. Just having him out there as a safety valve that's an 8-yard completion every time you throw it to him at least, and sometimes it'll be 60. That's because Dalvin was never great at that aspect. He's a better running back than Warwick Dunn, in my opinion, but he was not better at that part of the game. So yeah, Dunn would make sense if the offensive line didn't get it together. But I still think the answer is Dalvin.
Last question, Island Chief, wake up. Good morning, guys. Hard to complain about a 4-0 start, but I've got some questions.
Okay.
Mike Norvell is exceptional at scheming up open receivers. That is evidenced by Keon's first touchdown in the Clemson game. That's the one where he kind of made it look like he was going to catch a screen pass, but then darted into the vacant middle. Yeah, that was beautiful.
And Jordan had time to wait for it. Because it's a pretty slow developing play, but the offensive line did a good job there to let him have time to wait for it, and he was wide open.
I'm wondering if and why analytics favor targeting so many deep passes on go routes. Yeah, I don't know. Might be something. I wish I would have seen that. I could have asked Mike that on Wednesday, but we don't get to talk to him the rest of the week. But anyhow, it seems to lack the efficiency that we have operated at in the past. Is the big play worth more than the high completion rate over the course of a game? Do you expect this to change?
Yeah, again, going back to how we started the show, I do expect it to change. I think again, if you go back to the Boston College game and the Louisville game, the only other 2 games against Power 5 schools, they weren't taking a ton of deep shots. It wasn't just let's throw it down the sideline and see if we can make a play. The Boston College game, I think he threw 4 passes over 30 yards the whole game. Like, they weren't doing that. But this game was its own entity. That defense, that front 7, no chance to run the ball. Knowing your quarterback's hurt, knowing if the longer he scans and looks at progressions, the better chance there is he takes a blindside shot to his injured shoulder. Like, all of those factored into, and also, it's not like there wasn't a lot of things open. You don't have a lot of mismatches against that defense. You have a lot of mismatches against everybody else. Jaheim Bell is not a mismatch against those linebackers. Every other team they face is an enormous mismatch for him. So that, with knowing that, and knowing that you almost have these 2 comfort blankets, these security blankets, these just throw it up and pray blankets, everything being equal, you give those guys a shot. I just don't think that's how it will work moving forward. I think it was just this game, because nobody else is going to play Florida State like that, I don't think.
Yeah.
Maybe Miami, maybe Florida, I don't know. Nobody else in the ACC, I don't think, is going to just say, we're going to put our corners on an island, and we're going to trust that they can get it done. I would like, what I would like, and I would like some of the throws that they made, that Clemson made against Florida State. Like, they're going to be so worried about getting beat deep, they're going to start running. Do a stop route. That's an easy 12 yards. If they think Johnny Wilson's running deep, he acts like he's running deep. He plants his foot in the ground and turns around. That quarterback is going to be 6 yards past him. The ball's in the air. That's an easy first down. I would have done that a few times maybe, instead of just always seemingly run the ball or throw the ball deep. But also, I just think it's hard to postulate and project that this will be what they do the rest of the year. I think it was a one-off. The Boston College game, they did not do that. I don't think this is their plan. I just think in Clemson, when you have a quarterback that doesn't want to get hit against a front 7 that's really good, you throw it to your 2 best players and you hope you win the game that way.
Do you think the analytics favor deep passes? You're a guy in analytical mind.
Of course not.
Okay.
Right?
I don't know. It seems like with those 2 guys, you're thinking you're either going to – there's 3 outcomes most likely: incompletion, pass interference, or a completion, because seemingly Jordan just does not turn the ball over, and those guys are so big that they're not going to get out-mossed for an interception. Right. So I think I wonder – if that does factor into being a better play. But I think analytics are always on the safer, more efficient side. And, yeah, the 3-yard screen pass is more efficient.
And look, man, they're going to be officiated, as we saw in that game. They're going to be officiated like Shaq. Like, Shaq would get punched, he'd get elbowed, he'd get tugged, because and they can't call everything because he's just so much bigger and more athletic than everyone. that there's going to be some stuff that they just let go because it's human nature. You're bigger than them. I'm going to allow them to grab you a little bit more because it's just not fair otherwise. They have to try to compete some way. And so Shaq probably should have gone to the line 80 times a game, but he'd go 15 times a game. I think there's going to be plays where Keon Coleman, clearly at the end of the game there, was tugged, didn't call it. Johnny gets tugged and tousled around some, but they're not going to – the cornerbacks are going to be allowed to do more with them than they would with a normal receiver. So that's something you have to factor into. You're not going to get a ton of pass interference. Johnny will draw one a game probably, but I don't think Keon's drawn one yet. I just think that's human nature. Meanwhile, Renardo Green, who's in good coverage, and the kid wraps his arms around, well, that's pass interference. I don't think the analytics say, look, man, just look at how many times did they take a deep shot last year? It was Johnny down the sideline or nobody, right?
Right.
I mean, they just didn't do it a lot. And that offense operated at great efficiency the final 6 games of the season. They want to get back to that, I promise you. I honestly think it's just that when that game against Clemson, when you have those dudes, when you have that guy, number 4, you want to give him a chance to go make a play for you. And so you're going to throw it up more than not. And you're worried about your quarterback staying in the pocket too long and getting hit. So first read, throw it. First read, if it's one-on-one, that's where we go first. If it's one-on-one with those two guys against this team, that's where we go first. And again, nobody else is going to cover them like this. Most people will play zone. They will have a safety over the top, and that will open up the middle of the field. Clemson was like, yeah, man, go for it. And it was a good defense, a good strategy, because they got good corners. Good luck if Virginia Tech tries that, or Syracuse. They're not going to try that because they have no chance of staying with those guys.
Hey, how was it watching Acuna go yard the other day?
It was fun, man. It was good. He 41. I was still hoping for a couple stolen bases to get to 40-70. And before we go, Aslan,
yes.
Did you watch the Seminole headlines? Have you been on our message boards?
Yeah. I'm going to stay above the fray, brother.
Okay, Ira clapped back a little bit.
Clearly.
At you.
Clearly.
He was mad, but I gave him the benefit of the doubt because he's got a really bad cold. He said he's not feeling good. He's sick. Well, he wasn't even at practice on Wednesday.
I think he blamed me for that. Apparently,
he didn't do. I don't think he did that. Okay. I don't think he blamed you for getting him sick.
Yeah.
But it's good that you're not sick. You were in a car with him for 14 hours. But yeah, so he was the one thing that I would have pushed back on with him, but I didn't. Because he was explaining his side and why he only got $15 of gas. Because that's why I asked him. I was like, why would you stop and get $15? And he's like, well, we were in a podunk gas station, and I wanted to get to a place where Aslan could upload the videos. So I wanted to get just enough gas to get down the road and get going and get out of town. And I'm like, and I wanted to be, but man, he was in a mood. He's not feeling well. I'm not going to poke the bear, the gentle giant. But I'm like, man, how much longer would it have taken you to get $40 of gas? 2 minutes? Minute and a half, but yeah, it was fun, man. I like it. A little pushback, and there's a Team Aslan versus Team Ira on the tribal council. It's good stuff, man.
It's skewed. That's like taking a straw poll for like one politician at like the opposite.
Yeah. Ira's got a lot more fans
party
on that site than you do. He's just been doing it longer. That's all.
Yeah. It's all love.
Yeah.
But tell you what, though, Ira. Plan accordingly. I'm not driving up to Winston-Salem, so that's a you and Corey Clark joint, but I'll be on a jet airplane with you to Pittsburgh, though. I'll do that.
That's right.
All right, we got another show coming your way tomorrow. Stay connected to warchant.com. In the meantime, we have a wrap-up from our recruiting chat with Michael Langston from the other night as well up on the site, so check that out. Thumbs up on the way out, too. We'd appreciate it. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.